Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm bringing you a sentence I've wanted to utter for the last 3.5 years. Fortnite is returning to iOS. Now, this statement comes with a lot of caveats. There is a lot I have to explain in regards to Fortnite returning to iOS later this year. But the fact I can even say that sentence in the first place is honestly a huge dub, because over the last few weeks, over the last few months, there was a ton of uncertainty as to whether Fortnite would ever see the light of day again with brand new updates, brand new seasons on the iOS platform. But yes, it was confirmed today by Fortnite themselves, by Epic Games, by Tim Sweeney. They went ahead and did a whole bunch of tweets and press releases and whatnot saying this today on Twitter. Remember Fortnite on iOS? How about we bring that back? Later this year, Fortnite will return in Europe on iOS through the Epic Games Store. Shout out DMA, or the Digital Marketers Act, is what it stands for. An important new law in the EU making this possible. Apple, the world is watching. So there's a lot to unpack within this one tweet themselves. First off, later this year, Fortnite will return in Europe on iOS through the Epic Games Store. So that right there already implies we don't know when Fortnite will come back on iOS, but I can give you guys a rough date range later on in the video when it's kind of not confirmed, but heavily suspected when we could see Fortnite return. And it's sooner than you might think of when you might get your hands on the game. But a big red flag a lot of people are probably going to be hearing or seeing from that tweet is will return in Europe on iOS through the Epic Games Store. Now, I myself, I do not live in Europe. I'm not European. And so you might be wondering why I'm so excited about this news. And well, it's because there's usually always a way around these restrictions and imposed geographic sort of soft limits on ways to download apps. And again, I'll talk about it later on in the video in regards to even if you don't live within Europe, how there's still a really good chance, if not almost like a 99% chance, you will still be able to play Fortnite through other means of downloading Fortnite through the Epic Games Store or sideloading the game through your device, maybe through a PC or through alternative means. But my theory is that if you want to play Fortnite just like you've been wanting to play Fortnite over the last few years, if there's a will, there's a way. We're gonna find a way to play Fortnite if we live outside of Europe. But then the last bit, it's a little concerning. In the tweet, they say Apple, the world is watching. And this kind of, it's a scary bit. Now, if you don't know why today of all days, Fortnite is announcing the game is returning to iOS, well, it's because Apple put out a press release about their brand new iOS 17.4 update that went into beta today and will be going public in March. And in this brand new iOS software release, there are some really big and groundbreaking features that I've been talking about over the last few months and about the last year or so that have been rumored and greatly impact our chances to play Fortnite. And it's exactly how we're going to be able to play it moving forward. And it's through a feature called sideloading. Now, in this tweet, you might have seen Fortnite said you'll be able to install the game through the Epic Games Store and not through the Apple App Store. Now, this is because Apple is allowing different developers to actually create their own third-party app stores and upload them to the iOS ecosystem. So now, instead of users only being able to download apps through, let's say, the Apple App Stores, their only means of installing applications on their device, now other developers can create their own alternative app stores like Epic Games. So now let's say there could be an Apple App Store and an Epic Games Store. And so if there isn't an app that's on the App Store, but hey, let's say Epic Games has their Epic Games Store and they have, well, Fortnite on the Epic Games Store, I can go to the Epic Games Store through Safari or through whatever means, and instead I can sideload the game through that means, and I can still get an app on my device even though it wasn't through the App Store. And this feature is going to be brand new to the iOS 17.4 update, and this was all announced today. Now, the reason that Fortnite also mentioned that it's only coming to Europe is that the whole reason Apple is doing this in the first place, because they actually secretly don't want to do this, because it's probably going to cost them a lot of time, it's going to cost them a lot of headaches, and it's going to cost them, most importantly, a lot of money. It's because last year, or I think a few years ago, lawmakers in the European Union, which is basically a big conglomerate of countries, I think it's around 27 countries, they came together and they're like, whoa, Apple is kind of like a monopoly. Like, they have some, their iOS ecosystem is pretty restrictive. They don't really give customers the freedom to use their software and hardware like they should. So we're going to create this law, the DMA law, or the Digital Marketers Act, that basically is going to force Apple to make their devices or make their operating system give customers the freedom of choice to download apps however they want, to use their devices however they want, and to basically just make it a little bit more consumer friendly instead of it being super restrictive, super forceful, and super locked down like the Apple ecosystem typically is. But unfortunately, this law only goes into effect in the European Union. So for someone like myself in North America or in the United States, this law doesn't impact Apple over here. So whenever the 17.4 update comes out for iOS users outside of the European Union, we won't get the sideloading feature. We won't be able to download natively the Epic Games Store, but no need to fear, because later on in the video, I am going to touch on some ways that most likely users outside of the European Union will be able to play and download Fortnite Mobile. Because as you guys know, if there's a will, there's a way. And over the last 3.5 years, we have come up with some really creative and really unique ways as a community to play Fortnite Mobile, even throughout this crazy, insane time. So I'm sure even though this is going to be a region-specific Europe thing, there's going to be a multitude of different ways for people to still access the game in different regions like North America or Asia, or just wherever you live outside of the European Union. Now, to address another thing in the tweet at the very end of where it said Apple, the world is watching, that might seem really confusing and they're kind of subtweeting Apple, like what the heck is going on here? But to give a little context, Tim Sweeney tweeted earlier on today when Apple made their initial press conference briefing, he wasn't a big fan of it. According to him, Apple is being really restrictive. They're kind of being scummy about the way they're going about enforcing the new law, or like respecting the new law. I don't know. I'm not Apple. I'm not Tim Sweeney. I haven't read too much into this, but according to him, Apple, they're still playing a little dirty. And according to him, Apple proposes that it can choose which stores are allowed to compete with their app store. They could block Epic from launching the Epic Games Store and distributing Fortnite through it, for example, or block Microsoft, Valve, Good Old Games, or new entrants. And so according to him, even though Epic Games, they want to create the Epic Games Store on iOS and allow sideloading and allow users to download Fortnite through iOS once again, there is a chance in theory that if Apple just for some reason wants to say, hey, we still don't want you to come back to the iOS ecosystem, they in theory, they could say, you know what, we're not going to allow you guys to be a developer on our ecosystem. We're not going to allow you guys to create this Epic Games Store. We're not going to allow you guys back on our platform. So at least what Tim Sweeney is saying, and at least the way the current things are running, this in theory is an opportunity, or it's an option that Apple could exercise. But at least with how big Fortnite is, how big Epic Games is, how much money Apple plans to make from just allowing Epic Games back into their ecosystem, it would be kind of dumb. Like, listen, Apple, you already took the dub in court. You might already be getting another like $70 million from them in legal fees. You've won on like all accounts, okay? Like, listen, you guys have taken the freaking Epic victory royale over Epic. Just let us get this one tiny dub, okay? Please, pretty please. So that's what they're meaning from that little bit at the end of the tweet when they say Apple, the world is watching, because really it is up to Apple. Epic Games at this point has their full intentions, their full sights set on releasing an Epic Games Store soon in regards to this brand new sideloading feature. And on some other accounts, like just the @EpicGames account on Twitter, they tweeted Fortnite is coming back to iOS and Europe this year via our soon to launch Epic Games Store for iOS, thanks to new rules in Europe via the new Digital Marketers Act. Stay tuned for more details. And then I think there was another one. Yeah, this one was pretty snarky from Epic Games Newsroom. Fortnite will return to iOS and Europe in 2024, distributed by the upcoming Epic Games Store for iOS. Stay tuned for details as we figure out the regulatory timeline. We'll continue to argue to the courts and regulators that Apple is breaking the law. So listen, it still seems like Tim Sweeney, someone is still putting up a fight in the courts. I don't know. At the end of the day, listen, we're getting the game back to some capacity. Now, I want to shift the focus on when we might be getting the game back to iOS and how you might be able to play it if you're outside the EU. Because if you guys live in the EU, listen, you guys don't have to worry about anything. When it comes to the game launching, you're just going to wake up one morning, go to Safari, just probably type in download Fortnite Mobile, and you could probably play the game. It's probably going to be super simple, and it's going to be no extra steps. But this is more for people who live outside of the EU, how there might be a few extra steps involved on how to get the game. But before we talk about that, I want to mention the release date and when we might be able to expect the game. And for a few reasons, I think we might be getting Fortnite Mobile on iOS pretty soon. Now, the iOS 17.4 beta released today on January 25th. However, the full version, the full like public version of iOS 17.4 releases the first week of March. This is because on March 7th, I believe, the DMA law goes into effect. Like if Apple doesn't release iOS 17.4 by March 7th, then they're breaking the law, they're getting fined, they're going to court, it's not good. So by March 7th, iOS 17.4 legally has to be out or else things are in trouble. So by that kind of, thought process, by March 7th, things will be in place for other app distributors, for other companies to already have started publishing and distributing their own third-party app stores and marketplaces. So to my knowledge, by March 7th, there's really nothing stopping Epic Games from publishing their own Epic Games Store and getting Fortnite Mobile back online. The only thing stopping them would be getting approval from Apple. But again, it really is simple as just being like, hey, we want to come back, and then being like, all right, you guys are chill. We went to court, we squashed it out, squashed the beef. We're good. Welcome back. Like, to me, in my eyes, that's kind of the only really big hurdle to jump through, is we have around 6 weeks until iOS 17.4 comes out. And then after 6 weeks, like, I just kind of think the only thing stopping them is them getting approved. And then if they're approved, it's just a matter of time of how quick they can get the game developed back for iOS, and then when we could expect the game. So I think latest, they said later this year, but I think that's just them giving a very general blanket statement, because if they said the game is coming out March 7th and then there's delays and it happens March 8th, March 9th, and there's some small delays, I think that'd be a bad thing. So for me personally, I'm not getting my hopes up, but I would say like June or before is when I'm expecting this game to drop. Because anytime from March 7th and on, in theory, they can drop the game, and there's really nothing stopping them. And so I'd really love to hopefully at some point get some more communication on this. I don't know. It does look like over the last few months, Fortnite have been doing a fantastic job of communicating to the game, to the player base, and hopefully this is a good step in the right direction, and we can get some more communication on this moving forward. But that's the potential timeline. Once again, it could come out, screw it, December 2024. That's also a possibility. We just don't know. But the earliest is March 7th. The latest is December 30th, 2024. Who really knows? But for everyone who lives outside of the European Union, how will you actually play the game? That is a fantastic question. Now, a lot of people have been DMing me and replying to me today and been like, yo, can't I just make a VPN and make a new Apple ID and just say I live in Europe? Well, it seems that's not going to be the case, or it might not be that simple. It seems like with this new update, with the new iOS 17.4 update, there's a new setting in your phone or your tablet, has to deal with your region. And so it seems like iOS is going to be tracking your region wherever you update it, or something along those lines, to where it's probably not going to be as simple as just turning on a VPN, making a new account, and sideloading the game from iOS or Safari. It might be that simple. Really, only time is going to tell. But because Apple is prone to lose billions of dollars from this, they probably did a lot of thinking about how can we make this a lot harder for us to lose a lot of money. Because previously, if someone just wanted to switch Apple ID regions for the App Store, they were still making money off of the App Store. It was just a different region. But now if someone is, instead of spending money in the App Store and they're spending it at a third-party, app distributor, then they're just losing money. So I think it's going to be a little bit harder for us to actually download Fortnite outside of the European Union. However, I still do have faith in the actual sideloading process through PC, meaning if you've ever directly installed an application to your iPhone or iPad through your PC, just taking your phone, connecting it to your PC, and then directly installing Fortnite or any other application to it via that method, I think that's probably going to be the most realistic, the most safe and secure method for getting Fortnite on iOS. If you live outside the European Union, hopefully there will be an easier method. There will be some sort of on-device method where you don't need a PC, but it's looking like because Apple could lose a lot of money from this, there's a chance that they're going to make it pretty hard for users to actually just make a new Apple ID, VPN into Europe, and then just sideload things that way. I could be totally wrong. Once again, this is all speculation, but it does look like, based off what we know, that if we can get the IPA, or basically the file of Fortnite from users in Europe, then people outside of Europe, we can download it, we can install it, we can play it, and then every time a new update will come out, we would have to re-download it, reinstall it. And so me personally, I'm considering flying to Europe, buying a new iPhone, buying a new iPad, and then just chilling with those devices if I actually have to do that. Like, that is something I'm considering doing if all of this ends up going through. But listen, today has been a crazy day. There has been so much news and information. I completely forgot to talk about the new cloud gaming stuff, the whole new big news and information about cloud gaming. That's got to be a separate video because this one's already been super long. But basically, cloud gaming got some really good news and information. So even if you don't want to do all the sideloading stuff, you should be able to get some huge benefits with cloud gaming. Hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll have some more information on that and I can make a new updated video. But it looks like, boys and girls, we are back. I'll try to keep you guys as updated as possible with this. I'm not sure how fast information is going to flow from Epic Games and Fortnite to us. Tim Sweeney, he do be tweeting kind of a lot. So there's a chance I can keep you guys pretty updated on Fortnite returning to iOS. Again, 6 weeks is how long until the new iOS beta, or until the new whole, full release comes out. And so between now and then, there might be no updates. There might be a lot of updates. So make sure you guys are subscribed, boys. We're back on the road to 1 million. There's a chance 2024 on that wall, you're gonna see a gold freaking plaque after about 3.5 years of being stuck at this cursed 970,000 subscriber mark. So 2024, it's off to a pretty fantastic start, if I do say so myself. There's still a lot that needs to be answered. There's a lot that has to happen, but still a very good morning, very good afternoon in terms of news and information and regarding to Fortnite iOS. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.